Hey guys, what's going on? How y'all doing? Welcome back to the FPV Noob Tube. I am Icky, and today we're going to be reviewing the Arris X220 racing quadcopter pro version. All of those awesome names for this thing. What is it? Well, it's this guy right here. This is what we're going to be reviewing. We're going to go in depth. We're going to talk about the pros. We're going to talk about the cons. There's a few cons, but we're going to talk about them. We're going to get over these things. This is a completely utterly honest review of the Arris X220 racing pro version drone. Let's get to it. I added up all of the parts to about $290. We're talking about the flight controller, ESCs, the VTX, the frame, all of that stuff. And you know, just initially looking at it, for $260, you can't build the thing for that much, you know? So that is a great deal in and of itself. If you just want to buy the parts and fly it and crash it and then put other stuff on it, you're already ahead of the game. The parts are high quality and you're getting a good price on them. The bottom line is, it's a good deal. All right, so before we get to the bench and we start really tearing this thing apart, getting into it, let's throw up some pros and some cons on the screen here. We'll put them in the description below as well. Initially, my initial thoughts on this thing are that it looks great. It's really cleanly built, very cleanly built. The solder joints are really nice. The products, the parts that they use are really high quality. You're looking at official Emax red bottom motors, the 2306s, 2400 kVs. A lot of numbers for something that means it's really good. Emax makes really, really good motors. They were notorious for their other red bottoms back in the day. People are still using them today. Motors tend to come and go really quickly. The technology hasn't really advanced that far in the hobby, but Emax always somehow tends to stay on top. Even though these motors are a few months old and a lot of things have come out after it, they still compete very, very well. Also, you know, you've got a Runcam, the Runcam Swift 2. I like this camera. It also is slightly outdated, but Runcam also is really great about making things that just last. The sensors on this thing are great. The clarity is great. It might not have the greatest wide dynamic range and all these fancy things that you really don't know what they mean. Don't worry about it. You're going to be able to see really well compared to some of the other bind and fly quads on the market. They're selling just junk. You don't know what you're getting. This quad here, you know exactly what you're going to get, which is great. I think that's awesome because they're marketing this towards they say it's a pro version. To me, a pro's not going to buy a bind and fly quad. It's going to be you guys, the beginners. But what you're getting is a very high quality product. The flight controller and the ESCs, if you're familiar with ESCs, you know sometimes they're on the arms, sometimes they're in the quad, they're all in one, so all of your electronic speed controllers are inside the quad. A lot of people are going to that now, a lot of companies. I like it because it's very clean, keeps your ESCs off the arms. Your props won't strike the ESCs when you crash or anything like that. But a lot of people are having issues with burning up their ESCs, and you can just replace one instead of the whole chip. Well, this is a 40 amp ESC with a 50 amp burst rating. Very nice. I don't see a beginner really pushing this thing far enough to bust a 40 amp ESC. I haven't busted my 40 amp ESCs. You guys know I am a buster. That is the thing. I bust some stuff up. So really awesome. The flight controller stacks right on top of the ESCs. It just plugs right in. Another feature that a lot of companies are going towards, just like the X-Rotor Hobby Wing that I'm using in my build. This seems to be a very, very close representation of the X-Rotor Hobby Wing made by a company called Fly Color. Very, very nice. I've not heard of them before, but the quality on this flight controller and these ESCs seem on point for sure, definitely. The solder joints are very, very nice. Everything is plug and play, so everything plugs in when you need to take the flight controller off, when you need to change a part, you unplug it, you're good to go. I really, really like that. That is very geared towards beginners, which again, that's a plus. Let's move around. It comes with a Foxeer Pagoda antenna. That is good because the Pagoda antennas are notorious for having very, very clear, awesome video quality on your goggles. The circular polarized, the little weird cloverleaf looking things, those are great, but the Pagodas tend to be a little bit better. That's awesome. It comes with a plastic case, a very nice strong stem here. Very high quality antenna. I run the Foxeer Pagodas in some of my quads as well, so you're getting a high quality product there. The XT60 or the power plug mount here is actually pretty neat. The way that it's mounted, it's stuck into the top of the frame, so you put your battery on top, you plug it in just like that, keeps everything nice and neat, out of the way of the props, because that is a big deal. When I first started flying, I would cut my power cords with my props all the time. You're not gonna have that problem here. So your battery goes on top. What if you want the battery on the bottom? No big deal. You unscrew this guy here, you flip him over, you put the XT60 on the bottom, your battery goes down there, and you're good to go, right? Almost. Another good pro is I like that there's slots here for the battery straps on the top plate. It keeps your battery straps in place right where you need them. They're not sliding, slipping all over the place when you're taking your battery off, which is a problem for some quads. I like this. All of my frames that I really like tend to have this feature on them. Moving to the back, you have an integrated beeper and LED combo. That is great. I don't use beepers and LEDs on my quads. I tend to not need them, but beginners, I highly recommend it. You're gonna be able to see your quad if you crash. It looks cool when you're flying, and you're gonna be able to hear it. You can flip a switch, you can find it. That's great. And I almost forgot the video transmitter, guys. The VTX in this thing is actually pretty neat. It looks like a Furious FPV video transmitter, which are very high quality. It is titled the Arris VT5804, fancy numbers and letters. What it means pretty much is that it's a good VTX. It's great. It goes from 25 milliwatt all the way up to 600 milliwatt. So you got a lot of power there, plenty of good video range. The connector on it is what's called an MXXCX. I believe I'm probably saying that wrong, but it's awesome because it's very stout, has a very nice connector on the inside of it. You're not gonna worry about breaking your connector coming loose, any of that bad stuff, because that is a big deal when you're flying your quadcopter in the air. You have to be able to see video, otherwise it's gone. Don't worry about it, it's good. Let's move on to the cons. So I don't have very many cons for this mini quad yet. I haven't flown it yet, but with all the amazing components on this thing, there's really nothing that can go wrong as far as that side of things. But here is a China Hobby line battery. It is something that most people use in the industry nowadays. They are inexpensive, but very high quality performance. If you put this thing on top of the mini quad like so, like that, there we go. We can take our plug. I'm not gonna plug it in, but you can plug it in just like so. We don't have very much room up here for a GoPro. Oh, that's kind of a thing, right? Here's what I think. I don't think beginners should be that concerned with getting HD footage on their mini quad. If you want to track your progress, get you some goggles that use the DVR. You can record your video on a little chip, records exactly what you're seeing. That's all you're gonna need. Don't worry about it. Now you can mount the battery on the bottom. I'm gonna get into a con on that as well in a second. Then you can put your GoPro on top. Not that big of a deal, guys, but again, it's something. I just want to cover the bases. I'm being very picky. It is what it is. I will be mentioning a way in the next video how you can relocate this XT60 in a way in which you can mount a battery and a GoPro on top. That's what we're going to be doing when we get some footage for this guy, so I'm going to show you how I do that. Moving on to the bottom. The reason I think this is a huge con for bottom mounting a battery on this thing is because if you put your battery down here, you take your XT60 here, you move it to the bottom where you're going to plug it in, you do this kind of, it's a little strange the way it plugs in, but I don't see a way to mount a battery strap. You can see here this is nice and flat, and then you move up to the V section on the arms when you're bottom mounting this battery, and the strap is just pinched here. It looks very uncomfortable in this position. You can look on the other side, and that is the same as well. You're going to want a longer battery strap if you're going to bottom mount on this frame, because it's just not made exactly for it. Will it fly bottom mounted? Yes, it will. Will it fly well? Most likely. Is it made for it? No, I don't think so. But I think that it's a very nice, very great addition to the frame. I don't think that it takes away from it at all. Having the pad down there and having the option to do it is just great. I just don't like the bottom mounting option on this frame. I think that it's possible. Do I think that it's something, do I think it's made for a bottom mounted battery? No. I think it was an afterthought, which is fine. I like that they gave us the option. It's just not the best option. All right, so you've heard me ramble on some pros and cons. You've seen a few shots of it in the meanwhile while I'm talking. We're gonna put it on the bench, we're gonna tear it apart, and there's a few things I see in here that I like and want to talk about, and we'll see what else is going on the inside of this bad boy.